I'm privileged enough to like have my phone stolen, not be
and
like.
You were just happy it got stolen because that person could have been more disadvantaged.
No. I'm just saying it's like I think I'm in too privileged of a state to talk about that because like thank God like I have the funds, but like honestly it's like that story of like okay, if someone goes and like steals a loaf of bread to feed her family, like how.
Well, the analogy was if somebody comes up and pistol whips you and leaves you on the ground, steals your wallet, and then goes and buys food for themselves.
I'm gonna be upset.
I'm gonna
be upset, but from like my religious stance, like I should be forgiven.
Are you reporting it to the?
If somebody robs you, you should not forgive them immediately.
Probably not.
Okay, so are you gonna?
I'm just saying, like that's exactly what Columbus did, though. No, like that's
today. We're talking about today in the United States.
I'm just saying,
we're a developed country. We have welfare programs. It's a whole different conversation than before.
But that's because that's how it
you're
started.
trying to change the conversation.
No. What I'm saying is, you need to realize that like these same people that are now saying doing all these illegal things is such a bad thing, like immigration, like doing it illegally is so wrong.
Because the country's totally different. I don't think people would really have that big of a problem with it if there wasn't massive welfare programs when they come here. When they come here, they get free healthcare, free education, free food, free housing. Okay, we're seriously going to compare what's happening right now to that time.
I'm just saying, like, just like they were given opportunity. I'm not saying like, oh my gosh, every illegal immigrant like should be here or whatever. But I'm also not saying that every illegal immigrant is doing something so wrong to this country. If that makes sense.
Well, they're criminals.
Not all of them, though. No, I don't think.
They broke the law.
Okay, I see. In that case, criminals. But I'm saying once they get into this country, what are they doing that's so wrong?
The first thing that we don't know who they are. So what's the plan? Just, hey, figure out if they do something wrong and then take care of it? That seems like crazy policy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you would agree with that. Do you think vetting and knowing who's coming into the country before they enter is a good thing?
Vetting and knowing who's coming into the country. You're saying like doing it the legal way. You're saying like.
Do you think that's a better idea for the American people? People coming into your family's community. Do you think you probably want to know that the government knows that these people are safe to be in the country?
Like you wouldn't want a bunch of minors at a bar, so you'd ID them at the door, right? You want to know who's coming.
So if you guys don't know what's going on, this debate is about Democrats favoring illegal immigrants over Americans. That was a big talking point of people who voted more conservative in this previous election. They didn't like the way that the Democratic Party specifically handled illegal immigration, especially considering that during that time there were issues with housing, there were issues with jobs, and they felt as though it was unfair to have any type of illegal immigration support without fostering a strong enough support system for American citizens. Let me know what you guys think about that. There are, talking points on both sides, but let's not waste no more time and get right into this.
Coming into the country so you don't cause problems.
I see what you're saying.
I'll let him take because I did a bunch of yapping, so I'll let him take it. If you want to continue.
I honestly don't because I don't have time. Well, I was supposed to be at a work meeting at 1:30 and it is.
What's your name again?
Lily.
James, nice to meet you, Lily. I mean, it's a good faith conversation. I just feel like the really big thing is like should we not know who is in the country? Right? You're saying you support unvetted mass migration. We're saying absolutely not. That is unacceptable for the American people. Mm-hmm. Not for white people, not for black people, not for Hispanic, all Americans.
I just think that like you are putting this like connotation on like illegal immigrants as if like technically they immigrated illegally, and you could technically
which enriches cartels, by the way. So I'm also against that.
Okay, I don't support the cartel either. Technically call that like a crime, right? Let's say that's a crime. All I'm saying is like past that point, what's the ratio of like illegal immigrants that do support crimes versus those who like don't? Past the point.
I'm sorry, you don't mean support. You just mean like commit.
Sorry, that do commit crimes.
Cam, you want to take it away?
Yeah, we don't have like enough data on this to know like how many illegal immigrants exactly commit crimes in the United States. But if you zero in and look at places like Kinney County, Texas, which is right on the border, there's more crimes committed by aliens in Kinney County than there are people living in the county. And that's only illegal immigrants who have already been arrested by federal authorities, because that's how the Texas Department of Public Safety determines if someone's an illegal. In El Paso, it's about 50%, according to the Texas Department of Public Safety. It's a real problem. But I don't even think it's just that. Like, you have a combination of like people come here and they commit crimes. They also are
but also people that do live here commit more crimes than the illegal ones that come here. I believe that's almost definitely true.
That study only accounts for felonies. It also eliminates massive swaths of data for assaults and for homicides, and completely discounts those swaths of data if you compare it to the Texas Department of Public Safety's actual data, which is what that study is based on.
So you're talking about Texas and only Texas, right?
Because Texas, it's the only state that any studies have been done on. on because it's the only state that reports whether someone's an alien when they arrest them.
Yeah, if I can add, I'm not going to add an argument, but I just want to add, with the biggest issue with that argument on both sides is that the data's simply not there. It's underreported because illegal immigrants don't call the cops that much. But we do something like you were the one that made the claim, and it's simply you can't make that claim. But we do know that they're disproportionately represented in like federal drug arrests, federal prisons, local gangs.
How do we know that? You found that data? That data is
from the data that's available. Yeah.
And on top of that, it's not the only problem. So criminal aliens are not the only problem. On top of that, illegal immigrants are also a net fiscal drain on the U.S. economy. The drain per illegal immigrant is estimated by the Center for Immigration Studies to be about $68,000. They also drive up home prices in inner cities by roughly 12% per household. So huge problem outside of just criminality, right? We don't know who they're. Also, if you just have unfettered immigration, how do we know that like terrorists aren't just like flooding across the border if we're just allowing whoever wants to come in without any like fettered access?
Well, I guess that question, what do you think? We'll wrap it up. You can give one more statement, but that question, how do you find out? You say, hey.
Let me know if you guys support mass deportation. A lot of people do support it. I actually talked about this a little bit in the past, and I never actually said I support it or don't support it. What I said was I knew it was going to happen. And the reason I knew it was going to happen is because it was illegal immigration, meaning that it's illegal. It was kind of like it was held up by like a straw bridge. All it took was someone to come into office who did not support illegal immigration. There was never any legislation or legislative actions put in place to, protect illegal immigrants. It was never there. So I kind of already figured something was going to happen regarding it simply because it wasn't protected by the law. And if it's not protected by the law, that's all it takes. that's all it takes. But let me know if you guys support deportation or don't support it. And yeah.
You know what? Illegal immigrants sounds good. Don't worry about it. They're coming across. We're not even deporting them when they come here. Creating an incentive.
Don't worry about it.
I know.
I think that there needs to be like way more like data proving their harm and destruction to a nation before something like this occurs.
It's destruction and violence that shouldn't be in the country to begin with. Yeah, so how does this argument make any sense?
Because destruction and violence is going to be within the country regardless. Like its citizens itself already cause harm and destruction onto a country.
Do you think that family members that have lost a loved one to an illegal immigrant, let's say Lake and Riley or Jocelyn Angari, do you think that they care about that percentage that you're talking about? Or do you think they care more that somebody was in the country, the federal government didn't do their job, and it got their daughter killed? Do you think they care more about that? Or do you think they're like, well, the percentage?
I think it honestly just depends on like your perspective. I think it depends on like what someone's gone through, and I think it depends on like your level of empathy. Because like if you look at a case by case basis and you talk to those illegal immigrants on a case by case basis, and you're like, why did you come into this country? And they're just like, honestly, like the girl that I was talking about who was trying to do it legally, she was just trying not to die in her own country. Like she's not trying to come here. And,
my heart's with people that genuinely want to come to the United States, but
what I'm saying is
we don't know the specifics on that one though. She could have come between a legal port of entry. She could have had a decent asylum claim, but she entered illegally, and that's unfortunate because if you go through a port of entry, you can actually legally seek asylum if you do have a legit asylum claim. But I don't know the specifics on that. Do you know?
All I'm saying is that you don't know the specifics on like each person's like illegal. I don't know her specifics.
That's fine.
But all I'm saying is that like you don't know every single person coming into this country illegally, like what their backstory is.
It's really not my job.
You don't
if you're coming illegally, I don't really care about the story. I want people to come legally.
For example,
for the sake, like I think you're coming at it from a position, honestly.
Empathy.
No, I actually think it's misguided empathy.
I don't know.
You're empathetic to, it seems like everyone else, including all the issues that come with illegal immigration. You're empathetic towards that, and I'm not hearing much about the American people. I'm not hearing much about being empathetic to the American people that are having to compete for wages, that are dealing with the crime. Of course they do. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, let's try giving that privilege to some other people.
We do. Well. You can come here legally.
I have a question for you. So if somebody came up to you, you're walking down the street, let's say you just went to a bar with your friends, somebody comes up to you in a ski mask, pistol whips you, steals your wallet, and leaves you on the ground, knocked out, right?
Which happened to my friend a couple weeks ago.
Crazy. Would you wake up and say, well, I have to be empathetic. That person could have been poor and they needed the money. Or would you say, that's messed up, that person needs to be in jail, I'm filing a police report?
Honestly, I understand your perspective, like, oh yeah, like that person should just like go to jail. 100%. I think that would be like.
But
like,
what if they were poor and they just needed a bite?
But
they needed your money
the
to do
thing.
it.
That's honestly my perspective about things. Sometimes when it comes to like, oh, okay, like if someone did like really like I got my phone stolen when I went to Europe, and I'm like, you know what, that really sucks, and like I had to like cut costs, and like, but that's because I'm privileged enough to like have my phone stolen, not be
and
like.
You were just happy it got stolen because that person could have been more disadvantaged.
No. I'm just saying it's like, I think I'm in too privileged of a state to talk about that because like, thank God, like I have the funds. But like, honestly, it's like that story of like, okay, if someone goes and like steals a loaf of bread to feed her family, like.
Well, the analogy was if somebody comes up and pistol whips you and leaves you on the ground, steals your wallet, and then goes and buys food for themselves.
I'm gonna be upset. I'm gonna be upset,
that?
but from like my religious stance, like I should be forgiven.
Are you reporting
like,
it to the?
If somebody robs you, you should not forgive them immediately. You should call the cops. This is not. Oh my God, I feel like I'm going crazy every time I watch this stuff. I feel like I'm going crazy because the stuff that I say is not even political. It's just common sense. If somebody robs you, you can't forgive someone who doesn't want forgiveness. If they're actively robbing you, they don't want forgiveness. They want your wallet. And you should call the cops. But anyways, I'm going to end this video here. Let me know what you guys think. My name is LFR JOJO, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.